Hey everybody, and welcome to the Grumpy and Shadow Show.
I'm Grumpy.
And I'm Shadow.
And today we're talking about Flash Episode 2, Paradox on the CW Network. So let's get to it.
Okay, so when we last left the show, Barry and Eobard Thawne had just returned from trying to fix everything and putting things back the way they were, or so they thought.
And we started with Barry seeking advice from Felicity. Finds out Dick's family is slightly different.
Yeah, his family is slightly different. When Dig was on the original timeline, he had a daughter and he was married to Lila, I believe was her name. And the daughter's name, I believe, was Sarah after the original Black Canary. Now, with the new, after Flashpoint, Dig has a son who appears to be older than Sarah was, and he's named after him. His name is John Jr. Now, we don't know what other changes were made to the Arrowverse, but we do know what was changed in the Flash. And that's pretty much the whole Flash team, starting with Cisco.
Yeah, Cisco was suffering from loss from his brother. He was hit by a drunk driver. And he's mad, he's hurt at Barry because Barry would not go back in time to save his brother, but Barry went back in time to save his mother. But Barry doesn't want to do that because every time Barry goes back in time, he's always changing something else, and then other people are suffering from the Flashpoint.
Now, you're right, and Barry learned this because as he was trying to travel back to turn things right once again, he was stopped by the original Flash, or the Flash from Earth 3, Jay Garrick. And Jay sat him down in the diner in, I believe it was 1990, and kind of set him straight and said, you keep doing this, you're going to screw up more and more. Believe me, kid, I've been through it. And it was just kind of funny that they had happened to stop in 1990, because 1990, Jay Garrick is played by John Wesley Shipp, and he was the original Flash on the original TV show, and the original TV show aired in 1990. And they happened to stop on 1990 where the Flash, the original Flash, was talking to the new Flash and setting him straight. That was a nice little Easter egg. So after he had his conversation with Jay Garrick, he realized that he can't do what he's been doing. So he decided to just go back to where he was and just deal with the changes that happened. Rather than trying to keep changing each one, just accept it and deal with it. And some of the changes that happened included Joe and Iris.
They were at odds because Joe lied about Francine dying when she was alive. She was actually alive. He said he was dead. She was dead, but he was still alive.
Well,
and that caused a lot of friction between father and daughter.
No, you see, the thing is, I can understand Joe's point of view. I mean, she walked out on them when Iris was very little. She had had issues before. She was using drugs. So he felt that it was best, rather than to tell her, his daughter, that, your mom left because, she couldn't deal with everything and was doing drugs and just left you. He basically said, your mom is no longer with us. She's passed on or whatever, so that Iris could move on with her life and not have to wonder if she was the cause of her mom's problems.
I think Iris was really pissed off at her father because He didn't tell her the truth.
You know, and that's the other thing. I could see Iris's point of view to a point. I mean, yes, her dad did it to protect her and to help her in getting over what had happened. But on Iris's point, her dad and her had a special bond. They were always there for each other. They were, they always told each other everything. And then she finds out that her dad kept this huge secret from her. And she, again, just like Cisco, feeling betrayed by Barry, she felt betrayed by her dad. And that's a bit of a common thread running through that episode was betrayal. Cisco was betrayed by Barry in Cisco's eyes. Iris was betrayed by Joe. And then later, Barry lied to everyone again and tried to get them all to dinner and kind of betrayed their trust by telling Iris, oh, your dad wants to give you this information, telling Joe, oh, your daughter wants to, make amends, and telling Cisco, having Caitlin convince Cisco to come, and just putting everybody at the same table under false pretenses. He lied to all of them again.
I think Barry was just so overwhelmed, he wasn't sure what to do at this point.
That may be so. So before the dinner, Barry meets his new, for lack of a better word, lab partner. And it seems like from the get-go they're at odds. They don't like each other. Now we find out later on why Julian doesn't like Barry. But we still don't know why Barry doesn't like him. Barry keeps saying, is he this hard to work with? Or what, has he always been hard to work with? And blah, blah, blah. And, the ongoing response is, you always say that. You've been saying that for the last year, that you don't like him. Now, here's what happened. Dr. Alchemy gave the rival his speed back. And when he did that, somehow it was like a rebirth, so to speak, where Dr. Alchemy actually shed a layer of skin, or a husk, and out of that came the speedster, the rival. Now, and that husk was just, they just leave the husk behind and go and do what they need to do. Now, Julian is the metahuman expert now for the police department. And so he went to investigate the husk, and they brought Barry along just to try and get a little information for Star Labs, and Julian was like, don't touch my stuff. Stay away from my stuff. At which point Barry used his super speed and grabbed a piece of the husk so he could bring it back to Star Labs to check it out. Now, it seems like whenever Dr. Alchemy is restoring someone's metahuman abilities, they form this husk. So far they found 5 husks around the city. So the question is, how many more, and where are the other 4? Where are the other 4 people that came out of those husks? We haven't seen anyone or heard anyone yet. So that means that we've got a lot more to worry about. Now, I personally was watching Julian, and I don't like him either. I don't. And I have my suspicions. This is my suspicions that he is Dr. Alchemy. Or some part of him. Maybe it gets complicated, but there's a version of Dr. Alchemy that has a split personality. The left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. So he could be Dr. Alchemy and not know he's Dr. Alchemy, which causes his suspicion on Barry, because Barry is what he is, whereas Julian is what he doesn't know he is. And that could cause a bit of friction. Barry fixes what he can about Team Flash.
And he tells everybody the truth
About...
Barry got the Team Flash together.
Right.
And he wanted to ask them told him the truth. Kind of that he went back in time and he kind of messed things up a little bit.
Oh, so he told him about the Flashpoint?
Right.
Okay.
So he gave them the option if they should know the truth or not, if they wanted to know the truth. And they said
the truth about what? About what they used to be?
Right, what they used to be, how their lives were, and
Okay.
they choose really not to do that. But Irish mentioned the point that, it doesn't matter as long as everybody forgives. Everybody, I believe, forgave except Cisco. Cisco was still really hurt at that point, and that's when he walked out of the room.
Well, I understand Iris's point. And Iris's point to me was, yes, Barry screwed up. But Cisco screwed up in the past when he ratted out Barry's true identity to Captain Cold to save his brother. And Caitlin has screwed up in the past. And God knows Harrison Wells has screwed up. And even Iris is not perfect. And she realized that and said, we've all made mistakes.
And Detective West screwed up by not telling his daughter the truth about her mother.
Well, not only that, but he screwed up in many other ways by not trusting Barry and his daughter to hold their secret. He didn't want Iris to know that Barry was the Flash, and which was another secret he kept from her. And he's made mistakes. He's made mistakes with his own son. With their how should we say, getting reacquainted period where he pushed him one way, he pushed him another way. He didn't know which way to go with him. He didn't know how to reach out to him. And like she said, everyone makes mistakes. And the good part about that family that they have is that they always seem to get past it. And now is the time where they all need to come together and get past what Barry did and accept it and, move on as a family.
I think Team Flash respected Barry because Barry took the responsibility. Even though he kind of had some secrets there, but he finally came out and told them. And he let them make the option if they wanted to know the truth or not.
I personally think that if he had told Cisco what his life was like in Flashpoint, that Cisco would have hated him even more, because not only would he have been rich, but he would have had his brother alive, and Barry again screwed that up. So I'm kind of glad that he didn't ask Barry what his life was like, because out of all of them, he was the one that changed the most. I mean, they all pretty much kept their core person, except for Cisco, who was the richest man in America, had no cares in the world, and blah. He really seemed like he didn't care about anything.
And at this point, Cisco was also the angriest one of the bunch.
Right. And I'm glad that Cisco opted not to learn about his Flashpoint life.
So Barry's been trying to reach out to Cisco, going to his grieving meetings and trying to reach out to him, and Cisco just doesn't want to hear it at that point.
Yeah, no, and the sad part is that up till that point, Barry had no idea why Cisco was mad at him. Because remember, Barry was back in Flashpoint all this time, and he just jumped forward in time. So he missed that whole thing. So he had no idea why Cisco was so angry. And it wasn't until Cisco confronted him and basically broke it down and said, dude, you went back in time and saved your mom, and you won't go back in time and save my brother, and that's what pisses me off. That Barry was, not only was he remorseful about what had happened, he kind of felt bad because his hands were tied. He couldn't do anything.
And he was trying to explain to Cisco, but Cisco just didn't want to hear it.
Right. And then after that, we get Barry having to confront the rival now that he has his new powers. The rival got his powers from Dr. Alchemy. Dr. Alchemy gave him basically the command to kill the Flash. And at that point, Flash and the rival clash. Now, the problem is the rival wasn't alone. There was a doctor, I believe Dr. Alchemy was there helping him. And Barry was about to get his, for lack of a better word, ass handed to him.
And who comes and saves him? Cisco.
Vibe shows up with his glasses, nice, beautiful new gauntlet that he had made.
And he just takes it like this,
And he
points,
and he
and
vibes.
zip.
Yep, he vibes the rival, and the two of them team up and just take him down. Now, here's the thing. Yeah, they made up. They were friends. He basically said, Cisco basically said, "Leave my friend alone." And at that point, they realized that it was time to start making up. Now, Cisco left a little Easter egg. He said, there'd be, Barry said it'd be great if we could team up like this more often. And Cisco said, "Well, I have a little work to do on myself, but give it time and we'll see what happens." So it's possible those two could team up and become, a crime-fighting duo. Now, here's the thing with that. Cisco and Barry stopped the rival, but they didn't put him in the pipeline. And for some reason, it's making me think that the pipeline no longer exists. That the prison that they made for metahumans under Star Labs is no more. Because they took the rival and they put him in a special cell in Iron Heights. So I'm wondering if that's what they're doing with all the metahumans now? And if it is, we now know that it's not safe. And why do we know it's not safe?
You see a mystery man kill the rival in the Iron Heights cell.
Yeah, definitely a mystery man. Now, the way I saw it, this person who killed him had some sort of a metal glove on, like with pointed fingers or pointed fingernails or whatever, and it looked like almost like a claw. And I'm thinking that's not Dr. Alchemy. I've seen him. It could be Savitar, or it could be one of the 4 metahumans that we found the husks of around the city. I don't know who it is yet. And that's something that I'm waiting to see. But there was another surprise at the end of the episode.
Yeah, we see 2 things at the end. Caitlin's hand turns like a frosty white.
Which, to me, it looked like it scared the crap out of me.
I don't think she knows what's going on. I don't, she seemed quite surprised.
Well, there's a reason for that. See, when Harrison Wells from Earth 2 came and he had that special watch that would tell him whenever a metahuman was around, it set off on Barry, it set off on Cisco, but not on Caitlin, because Caitlin didn't have the gene. So now all of a sudden, after Flashpoint, somehow she's got the gene and she's starting to turn. So the question is she going to turn into Killer Frost, or are they going to make her into a good, a good entity, so to speak, like, a good metahuman, and team up with Team Flash and go by the name Frost?
How'd she get the gene in the first place?
Yeah, well, Barry screwed up a lot of shit. I mean, with Flashpoint, as you can see, I have no idea how that changed, but it did, and now she's Frosty. She's Frosty.
I don't think she's aware of her full powers yet. I don't think she knows how to implement it, how to use it yet.
Oh, I know. She doesn't even know what it is yet. She was told about Killer Frost last season, but she never... Oh, and she did meet Killer Frost. That's right, she did. So she has an idea of who she is. So maybe she has an idea of what's happening to her. And maybe the look on her face was that she was afraid she might turn into the evil Killer Frost that she met on Earth 2. I would like to find out. I would like to find out how far this goes. Is it just her hand? Does she get the white hair and the blue eyes too? Or does she stay normal? Or is it something she can turn on and off? It'd be interesting to find out what Barry's little escapades in Flashpoint did to her.
At the point what we saw, though, was just her hand. We didn't see her
Right.
face or anything else change. But, of course, if she's once she learns how to control this, who knows what's going to happen.
If she learns how to control it, it's possible it might just take her over. Not only her body and the powers, but all her mind too, and make her the evil Killer Frost. Like we mentioned before, there is an episode 7, I believe, being directed by Kevin Smith, that's entitled Killer Frost. So I don't know if that's going to be Frost versus Killer Frost. I don't know if it's going to be Killer Frost from Earth 2 is back alive, or Killer Frost from another Earth, maybe Earth 3, and her and Cisco have a face-off, or her and Caitlin have a face-off. I don't know. But I'm really hoping that they don't turn Caitlin into a baddie. I mean, she was the sweetest, nicest, kindest person on the show. The most innocent. And to turn her bad would just be horrible. And now, last thing we have to cover is what's upcoming. What's upcoming is Flash Episode 3. And in Episode 3, we get what I've been waiting for. Jesse Quick. Harrison Wells from Earth 2, it appears, and Jesse come back through the portal, and Jesse has her speed. And it seems like she's going to team up with Barry, and they're going to be a speed duo.
I think that should be quite interesting. Fighting
crime. I would love to see. I want to see if they put her in the original outfit for Jesse Quick, and I'd like to see just how different her speed abilities are from Barry's. Barry has the thing that he can throw lightning and whatnot. I'd like to see what she can bring to the table that's different than him. Wally still hasn't gotten his speed abilities yet. Now in Flashpoint he was Kid Flash, and he had speed abilities. Now he doesn't, or he might, because of what happened before. So it'd be interesting to see if they start the Flash family. Now there was a Flash family.
At this particular Flashpoint, I don't think Wally even knew he had any kind of speed.
No, he didn't, and he was one of the ones who opted not to know about his other life. If he had, I wonder how it would have changed him.
Or does he have the speed, but he doesn't know about it?
Well, see, that's my thing, because Jesse didn't have the speed. They both got hit by the particle accelerator at the same time, Jesse and Wally. Now, Jesse got the spark from Barry, but maybe, just by being there and being next to Jesse, Wally got the Speed Force as well and just needs it activated somehow. So that would be an interesting thing to find out. And don't forget, we still have the episodes with Gorilla Grodd coming up, and the revelation of Savitar, which I'm looking quite forward to. But for now, I'm really interested in Jesse Quick. I'm really interested to see how they're going to pull Supergirl into the Flash universe, or into the Arrowverse. And the last thing that I'm interested in is to see if Harrison Wells is still alive. The real Harrison Wells. So those are my thoughts. Let's hear your thoughts. So leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below.
And thanks for watching. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Y'all have a good night.
Thank you.